From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. This is Dateline Malacañang. Malacañang on Thursday congratulated Filipina tennis star Alex Ayala for defeating world number 2 and 5-time Grand Slam champion Iga Swiatek at the ongoing Miami Open in the United States. In a press briefing, Palace Press Officer and Presidential Communications Office or PCO Undersecretary Claire Castro said, "The Palace and President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. takes pride to Filipinos who bring honor and glory to the country." The 19-year-old Ayala is currently in a dream run, competing at the tournament as a wild card and winning against players ranked in the top 100. Ayala, who currently ranks 140 in the Women's Tennis Association or WTA World Rankings, defeated number 56 American Katie Volinets in her opening match, followed by a heart-pounding victory over Yelena Ostapenko of Latvia, who ranks 25 and was the 2017 French Open winner. In the round of 32, Ayala stunned reigning Australian Open champion and world number 5 Madison Keys of the United States before walking over to the quarterfinals after world number 11 Paula Badosa withdrew from their round of 16 match. Ayala will now face American and world's number 4 Jessica Pegula in the semifinals, who defeated 2021 U.S. Open champion Emma Raducanu.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang finds it conflicting for former President Rodrigo Duterte's camp to ask the International Criminal Court or ICC for an interim release and went to the Supreme Court to present several petitions such as the writ of habeas corpus. In a Palace Press briefing, Palace Press Officer and Presidential Communications Office or PCO Undersecretary Claire Castro asked, will Duterte's camp accept that the ICC has jurisdiction over the Philippines, and does that mean they will withdraw their petitions to the Supreme Court asking not to cooperate with the ICC? Castro further asked, will the Duterte family also accept if the ICC orders them, if ever, to have their assets freezed?
Does it mean that we have to recognize that ICC has jurisdiction over the Philippines? I believe the family of the former President Duterte is asking and praying from the Supreme Court that the government should not cooperate with the ICC. So it means that if we will not cooperate with the ICC, even that prayer or even that manifestation of the ICC, we will not take cognizance of that. Mahirap po kasi na sasabihin natin, although that's hypothetical, sasabihin natin na makikipag-cooperate tayo sa ICC pagdating po sa interim release. Dahil lahat po ng issue dyan mabubuksan. Mabubuksan din po kung magkakaroon ng freeze order sa kanyang mga assets. Gugustuhin po ba din ng pamilya Duterte na makipag-cooperate tayo sa ICC para lahat ng kanilang assets, nakatago man o hindi nakatago, ay makikipagtulungan tayo sa ICC para mahagilap lahat ng kanilang assets? Though it's hypothetical, but as we speak now, we do not recognize the jurisdiction of the ICC over the Philippines.
That was Palace Press Officer and Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Also on Thursday, Malacañang expressed its support to the plan of the National Bureau of Investigation, or NBI, to coordinate with the International Criminal Police Organization, or Interpol, to bring back to the Philippines vloggers based outside the country who are peddling fake news. In a Palace Press briefing, Palace Press Officer and Presidential Communications Office, or PCO Undersecretary Claire Castro, thanked the NBI's initiative that will help the Marcos administration's campaign against fake news and disinformation in the country. Castro added that this should have been done a long time ago, as vloggers spreading false information on social media continue to rise. Earlier, NBI Director Jaime Santiago confirmed that the agency is coordinating with Interpol to pursue individuals abroad accused of spreading false information. The NBI is currently investigating at least 20 people suspected of being part of an organized network spreading misinformation and disinformation, particularly targeting government officials and political personalities. Castro also admitted that President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. was slightly affected by the alarming surge in fake news on social media. The palace official said President Marcos has directed the PCO to ramp up the government's drive to counter misinformation, not just for himself, but for the country.
Dateline Malacañang.
Still on Thursday, Malacañang snapped back at China after its foreign ministry spokesperson remarked about the country's defense cooperation with other nations and likened the Philippines to a chess piece. In a statement, China's foreign ministry suggested that those who willingly serve as chess pieces for other nations would ultimately be abandoned. The remarks was issued ahead of United States Department of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's visit to the country on Friday, March 28th. In a press briefing, Palace Press Officer and Presidential Communications Office, or PCO Undersecretary Claire Castro, said that the Philippines is no one's chess piece, and if China is really concerned about stability, then they should abide by international law. The palace official said the Philippines is free to make its own decisions regarding defense and security matters.
Well, if China really believes and concerned about peace and stability in the region, they should abide by the international law. They should also respect the sovereignty of each country. We are not. The Philippines is no one's chess piece. We are an independent country. So kung ano man po ang ating gagawin, kung ano man po ang ating magiging proyekto patungkol sa ating military operations, ito po naman ay nasa atin na po. Wala pong pwedeng makialam dito. Tayo po ay independent at walang dapat manghimasok sa anuman po na desisyon ng ating pamahalaan.
The Philippines and China have been locked in a territorial dispute in the South China Sea, which Beijing claims entirely as its own, including resource-rich features in the West Philippine Sea. On July 12, 2016, the Arbitral Tribunal constituted under the 1982 Law of the Sea Convention dismissed China's expansive claims under its so-called Nine-Dash Line as illegal. To this day, Beijing continues to reject the ruling.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other Malacañang news, Malacañang on Thursday challenged Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong to provide evidence to his claim that the 2025 General Appropriations Act or GAA was being used as an election fund. In a palace press briefing, Presidential Communications Office or PCO Undersecretary and Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said, if Magalong can provide the evidence to the PCO, she herself would read all he has presented and would do the investigation. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. signed the 2025 GAA on December 30th, 2024.
Magiging witness po ba siya sa mga kasong isinampa? Ginagalan po natin ang pananaw ni Mayor Magalong, pero mas maganda po sana kung magsasalita po siya ay nandiyan na, nakahain na po ang mga ebidensya na ito ay nagamit sa election fund. Unang-una po, tinawagan po natin ang DSWD na nakipag-ugnayan po tayo para malaman natin kung may katotohanan ang mga sinasabi ni Mayor Magalong. Tanong po natin na mga politiko lamang ba ang pwedeng mag-refer sa DSWD kung may naistulungan? Ang sabi po nila, anybody, kahit sino, ay pwedeng humingi ng tulong sa DSWD. So, hindi po ibig sabihin nito na politiko lamang ang gumagamit ng pondo. Kahit po sino, kahit po yung mga hindi incumbent pero tumatakbo, pero kung meron po silang valid na kahilingan at mabe-vet ito ng DSWD, pwede silang gumawa ng letter referral. Ito po ay tutulungan ayon sa DSWD. So wag po natin sanang isipin na politiko lamang po ang pwedeng humingi sa DSWD. Ayon din po sa DSWD, ang pera po na ibinibigay pang ayuda ay nanggagaling mismo sa DSWD. At kung meron mang pong ibinibigay na tulong ang bawat politiko, galing po yun sa kanilang sariling pondo. Nais po natin kay Mayor Magalong, ibigay po ang mga ebidensya. Bigyan niya na rin po kami dito sa PCO para malaman natin kung may katotohanan ba ang bintang na ito. Mahirap po kasi na ang bintang po ay pangkalahatan, pero hindi naman po na ibibigay ang pinakadetalye. Kasi makakasira po ito sa imahe ng gobyerno, sa pamahalaan. Makasisira din po ito sa lahat ng mga politiko na ang karamihan naman po ay inosente. So kung meron pong ebidensya, ito naman po ay may kaso na patungkol po sa GAA at sa enrolled bill. Magbigay na lang po siya ng ebidensya doon para kung meron pong issue ay mas maliwanag. Pero kung maibibigay niya po sa amin, sa PCO, kahit po sa akin, mas maganda po kung mababasa ko lahat ng mga ebidensya niya. At ito po ay ating paiimbestigahan.
That was Palace Press Officer and Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang on Thursday encouraged banks to change their internal policies to minimize, if not eliminate, cyber attacks. This after financial institutions or FIs under the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP lost 5.82 billion pesos from cyber attacks in 2024. A 2.6% increase from the 5.67 billion pesos registered losses in 2023. In a Palace Press briefing, Presidential Communications Office or PCO Undersecretary and Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said, crimes are evolving, so project and rules must also be upgraded. The palace official added that the government can help by the use of infomercials and information dissemination to help the public not to fall victims to scams.
Atin po ding hinihikayat na magkaroon din po ang mga bangko, mabago ang kanilang mga internal policies patungkol po dito. At tayo din po ay magkakaroon ng mga infomercials at mga dissemination na information or information dissemination patungkol po sa paano maiiwasan ng taong bayan ang ma-scam. So, kasi po, nag-i-evolve po talaga ang paggawa ng krimen. So, kailangan din po ang mga proyekto natin, yung ating mga panuntunan dito ay dapat nag-upgrade din po. So, yun po, pansamantala, yan pa lang po ang ating masasabi hingi po natin ang pinaka-official statement po dito ng BSP.
That was Palace Press Officer and Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. received the credentials of the new ambassadors of Colombia, Cambodia, and Ukraine to the country in separate presentation of credentials at Malacañang Palace in Manila. The President received the letters of credence of Ambassadors Edgar Rodrigo Rojas Garavito of Colombia, Sin Sarim of Cambodia, and Yulia Alexandrivna Fediev of Ukraine. In a news release, the Presidential Communications Office, or PCO, said the chief executive conveyed to the Colombian ambassador that the Philippines and the South American country can explore other sectors for trade and development, as well as further strengthen relations between the two countries. For his part, Ambassador Rojas Garavito said, Colombia and the Philippines have a shared aspiration for lasting peace and development. Formal diplomatic relations between the Philippines and Colombia were established on July 5, 1946. President Marcos also welcomed Cambodian Ambassador Sin to the Philippines and looks forward to an even stronger relation with a fellow Association of Southeast Asian Nations or ASEAN member. Sin assured the President of his commitment to further enhancing cooperation between Manila and Phnom Penh for the mutual benefit and prosperity of Filipinos and Cambodians. The Philippines and Cambodia formally established diplomatic relations on August 20th, 1957. Meanwhile, Ukrainian Ambassador Fediev expressed her willingness to contribute to further develop bilateral ties, particularly in promoting peace, prosperity, and mutual respect across borders. The Philippine President reaffirmed the country's unwavering support for all efforts to find just and lasting peace in Ukraine. Diplomatic relations between the Philippines and Ukraine were established on April 7, 1992.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine Ambassador to the United States, Jose Manuel Romualdez, announced that United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio is planning to visit the country this April to reaffirm the importance of the Philippines-U.S. alliance in the Trump administration. In a television interview, Romualdez said there is no exact date for the visit, but this would most probably be by April after U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's visit to Manila. Ambassador Romualdez said Secretary Rubio's mission in the Indo-Pacific region is also similar to what Secretary Hegseth is going to do. Romualdez added that after these visits, the exact date of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s visit to the U.S. would most likely be agreed upon. This will be Defense Secretary Hegseth's first chance to visit the Philippines and the Indo-Pacific region since assuming office early this year. After the Philippines, Secretary Hegseth will then visit Japan to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Iwo Jima, where he will meet with Japan leaders and U.S. troops. Romualdez said his visit comes at an opportune time, just as Manila is also looking to further bring forward the new relationship that it has with the Trump administration. Earlier, Philippine Defense Secretary Gilberto Chodoro Jr. said Hegseth will pay a visit to President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and to himself, where they will discuss ways to enhance bilateral, trilateral, and Squad partnerships.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, the Philippines Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, said it targets to start rehabilitation to the National Capital Region, or NCR's major thoroughfare, during the Holy Week or this coming April. In a hearing at the Senate, DPWH Secretary Manuel Bonoan said they plan to start the rehabilitation of Epifanio de los Santos Avenue, or EDSA, during the Holy Week, as the week will have less traffic. The Secretary shared that President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. instructed them to start with Pasay and Guadalupe as part of the country's preparations for the hosting of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN Summit, next year. Besides this, rehabilitation will also begin in parts of Balintawak and Monumento in Caloocan City. According to Bonoan, the DPWH targets to finish the rehabilitation of the southbound lane of EDSA this year, but assured they will finish before December because traffic is expected to be heavy during the holidays. However, Secretary Bonoan said the rehabilitation of the whole of EDSA might be completed during the first half of 2027. Meanwhile, the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, convened the Metro Manila Council, or MMC, along with the Department of Transportation, or DOTR, and DPWH at the MMDA headquarters in Pasig City to present the final intervention measures to the 17 NCR mayors comprising the MMC. The meeting was headed by MMDA Chairperson Romando Artes, along with MMC Vice President and Navotas City Mayor John Ray Tiangco, Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon, and Public Works Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo. During the meeting, MMDA, DOTR, and DPWH asked for the MMC's opinions, sentiments, and suggestions on the upcoming EDSA rehabilitation project. According to Chairperson Artes, local government units, or LGUs, should already be prepared for the expected heavy traffic while the rehabilitation is ongoing. Artes said EDSA's rehabilitation is part of President Marcos Jr.'s directive to prioritize public convenience. For his part, Transportation Secretary Dizon said operation of the EDSA bus carousel will continue once the rehabilitation starts.
Dateline Malacañang.
And that concludes today's edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.